Welcome to Analysis. I'm John Rees. Now, if there is a tragedy that can rival that of Gaza, it must surely be the catastrophe in Sudan. Since April 2023, Sudan has faced an unprecedented humanitarian crisis driven by the ongoing conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Civilians continue to bear the brunt of the violence, with nearly 9 million people internally displaced, making Sudan the world's largest internal displacement crisis. An additional over 3 million people have fled to neighbouring countries. Nearly 2/3 of Sudan's population is in dire need of humanitarian assistance, including 16 million children. Here's a report of the situation from the Reuters news agency.
Hunger and disease are spreading in war-torn Sudan, with famine already present in several areas. That's according to the World Health Organization, which said on Friday that 25 million people are acutely food insecure. Here's Ilham Noor, Senior Emergency Officer for the WHO.
Relentless violence has pushed Sudan's health system to the edge, adding to a crisis marked by hunger, illness, and despair.
Sudan's conflict between the army and rival Rapid Support Forces has displaced millions and split the country into rival zones of control. Funding cuts are hampering humanitarian aid, and cholera is spreading.
Cholera has swept across Sudan, with all the states reporting outbreaks. Nearly 100,000 cases have been reported since July last year.
Cholera has also hit a camp for Sudanese refugees in eastern Chad. This is Patrice Awansu with the United Nations Refugee Agency.
As of early August, 264 cholera cases have been reported by the government in Dugi settlement, and 12 deaths. As a consequence, UNHCR has suspended the relocation of refugees from border points in order to prevent new cases.
UNHCR said in a press release it was calling for immediate funding for health, hygiene, water, shelter, and food aid to prevent a health catastrophe.
But what is making an horrific situation worse is that outside powers are seen to be backing the Rapid Support Forces, who recently announced a rival government. The Sudanese government has accused both Colombia and the United Arab Emirates of financing, arming and transporting mercenaries to fight in Sudan for the RSF. It's not only a threat to Sudanese sovereignty, but a danger to other African states where internal conflicts might be exacerbated by foreign intervention. Well, to discuss all this, I'm joined by His Excellency the Ambassador of Sudan in Great Britain. Ambassador, welcome to the programme. Just tell us a little bit about the statement that you've issued talking about other states, the United Arab Emirates, interfering in the internal affairs of Sudan.
Thank you very much for having me. And let me start by that. I'm trying to put the right perspective of what is happening in Sudan. What is happening in Sudan is almost like external invasion of the country. It is not a normal power struggle or civil war between two rivals. It is rather militia, transboundary multinational militia trying to take control of the country. Fortunately, now the vast majority of the country territories are under the government, and the Sudanese people are firmly united behind the Sudanese armed forces, the national army of our country, which has been in existence for 100 years. And for us, the RSF militia, it is the same Janjaweed that the international community know, and which has been committing atrocities in Darfur for quite some time. And for us, the most important, the single most important factor in prolonging and expanding this war is what we call the regional sponsor of the militia, which is the Abu Dhabi regime. We put it entirely on the shoulder, the one responsible of actually from the very beginning for launching this war against our people, against our national state. We don't actually accuse Colombia as a country, as a government. We don't accuse it in involvement. But that, yes, it is a reality that there are a large number of Colombian nationals. But we don't think for the time being that the Colombian government is involved in this. And we saw and we have received in the past an official apology, an official condemnation from the Colombian government. We saw the tweet by His Excellency, the Colombian president, condemning the participation of some of his national in this war as mercenaries, and that he instructed his government to work hard to put an end for this phenomenon. So the right perspective of what is happening in Sudan is an external threat, an external fuel, war imposed on us. Our government, our national army are capable of checking this and repelling this invasion, and they are doing fine. And had it not been for the uninterrupted flow of sophisticated weapons, mercenaries from some of neighboring countries, this war could have ended early on. Yes.
So it sounds to me as if you think that the contribution that the foreign intervention is making is decisive. That if that support, that mercenary element wasn't there, the war would be over. Is that your view?
The mercenaries and the uninterrupted flow of very sophisticated weapons. Imagine that a militia, a paramilitary group that using strategic drones which are only available and can be accessed by governments. So that explains why this war is still continuing in Sudan.
And why? What is it that the UAE are hoping to get out of this? Obviously a sympathetic government, but to what end?
Actually, this question should be directed to the UAE government, to Abu Dhabi regime. For us, we see it as an attempt to control the country, to seize its huge natural resources, to take advantage of its very important geopolitical location, the long coast we have on the Red Sea. So the symbol, they want to control the country, and that Sudanese people cannot accept this because we have done away with colonialism nearly 70 years ago. So we can't accept a new sort of colonialism or trying to impose foreign will on our people.
And the RSF have just declared a rival government, have they not? Is this a desperate sign of weakness, or how would you interpret it?
Exactly, it is a desperate sign of weakness, having dealt with very huge defeats and lost. This militia one day was in control of our national capital, of a vast part of our central western part of the country, and now they are confined only to Darfur and a few pockets in Kordofan in western Sudan. So to make up for this or to compensate for these huge losses, they made this desperate attempt to just claim that this fictitious authority towards our common border with Chad and Central African Republic. And they are actually, it is just a bogus administrative threat, and nobody, neither the Sudanese people, taking that seriously, and our regional organization, for example, the African Union, has issued a strongly worded statement rejecting this altogether and demanding all member states, all African states, not to deal with this fictitious entity, or to give it any sort of support. The Secretary General of the UN has done the same. The League of Arab States equally condemns this attempt, and many friendly and brotherly government issued similar statements. So they have this entity has no any future, and it is not feasible at all.
Now, in your statement, you say that there is a danger not only to the sovereignty of Sudan, but to other countries as well. The statement makes the point that there are internal conflicts in other African countries, and that if this precedent is accepted, that this will create a more fractious, a possibly violent future in other countries as well. Do you just want to elaborate on that point for us a little bit?
Yes, sure. Of course, Africa abound with armed movement, with terrorist movement, with separatist movement, and we have seen in, I don't want to name the countries, but in the regions there are many countries that are practically fragmented and practically having more than a government, and this actually has been nurtured by, once again, by external actors. Exactly, one of them actually is Abu Dhabi regime. And if this attempt not rejected strongly and seriously, it will encourage other similar groups to make their own what we call administrative or authority or whatsoever, call it so-called governments. So that's why we need a principal position from all members of international community against this the so-called parallel government in Sudan.
Now, in the report as well, you talk about both direct military support, you've talked about that a little bit, but also about financial support, about money laundering. Just talk through that dimension of the intervention in the conflict.
Yes, this is not only said by Sudan government, but even the U.S. administration has sanctioned 7 commercial entities for being directly linked to the RSF militia and for being used by them to procure, to obtain and to purchase weapons and to pay, actually, pay mercenaries. So all these 7 commercial entities are based and registered in UAE. So this one very important aspect. And also the militia is involved in smuggling of gold. We are the 2nd largest producer of gold in Africa, and they took, control of few gold mines in Darfur and nearby, and they are smuggling and exporting this gold illegally to the UAE. So that's why they contributing to finance and to fund this war against the Sudanese people.
Let me ask you about another dimension of the crisis in Sudan, about the humanitarian crisis, about the emergence of famine. We live in a world where international aid is under pressure in all sorts of ways. The British government has just cut its international aid budget in order to pump the money into rearmament. Donald Trump has slashed the aid-giving capacity of the United States and also, by extension, the UN. Is that impacting on the help that Sudan is getting?
Okay, yes, definitely it impacts that the international effort to help the needy people of Sudan. But let me put it also once again in right perspective. We are not facing a famine. We are facing a deliberate starvation strategy employed by the RSF militia and its regional sponsor. So as you know, Sudan is one of the biggest country in terms of agricultural assets. We have huge arable land, we have abundant water resources, we have very good farmers. We have been farming, they have been farming for centuries. We are capable not of feeding, not just feeding our own people, but the region and the entire African continent, because we used to be, we are called one of the world food baskets. And as I'm talking now, one of the largest contributor in humanitarian assistance of our own people, our diaspora people, our expatriates worldwide, are one of the main donors. We don't depend entirely on the UN or the maybe international NGOs. Our people are known for helping each other, for their generosity. And just last year, our diaspora contributed 1.3 billion US dollar in assistance to their fellow citizens, fellow Sudanese. So that actually is comparable to the contribution of the all United Nations agency combined. But having said this, we still need international support, not only for emergency, but for helping the people rebuilding. You mentioned earlier that Sudan is witnessing the largest displacement crisis in the world, but there is another the other side of the story, that we are also seeing one of the biggest return, according to the International Organization for Migration Organization. In the past few months, since the beginning of this year, nearly 2.5 million people from internally displaced person and from refugees from in the neighboring countries have returned back home, because after Sudanese armed forces liberated their areas specifically in Al Jazeera state in central Sudan, Blue Nile state, central Sudan as well, and in the national capital. So people are returning back home, but they are after losing everything, so they need a lot of help to rebuild their life, to resume their productive activities. We have one of the most resilient people, whether as a farmers, as cattle herders, as professional, and so they need support to rebuild themselves, because we have been subjected to one of the worst enterprises of destroying the infrastructure of the country, the all productive institution, deliberate destruction of the agricultural sector, of the industrial sector, of everything. So we still need the help of the international community.
Okay. Well, Reuters have just produced another a report about exactly this question. So let's take a brief look at this. Ambassador, please do stay with us, and we'll come back to you after we've had a look at this Reuters report.
At the Tawila camp in Sudan, people carry with them stories of disease, hunger and violence. It's located about 40 miles west of Al-Fasher, the Sudanese army's last stronghold in Darfur after more than 2 years of war. With the army having pushed the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, out of Sudan's capital Khartoum earlier this year, the battle for Al-Fasher has intensified. Inam Abdallah Mohammed says they fled another camp in the area, Zamzam, because of the RSF, and were then attacked in a village near Al-Fasher.
If they find a person with a mobile phone, they would take it from him. If you have money, they take it. If you have a good donkey or something like that, they'll take it from you. They kill people. They killed people in front of us. They took girls in front of us and raped them.
Al-Fasher's fall would give the RSF control of nearly all of Darfur, a vast region bordering Libya, Chad, a Central African Republic and South Sudan. That could pave the way, analysts say, for Sudan's de facto division. Residents in Al Fasher, capital of North Darfur, have reported RSF artillery and drone attacks throughout the day and night. One doctor said hunger is a bigger problem than the shelling, with children and adults malnourished. Many have fled to Tawila, now hosting 500,000 displaced people. However, with humanitarian organisations stretched by foreign aid cuts, Tawila offers little aid or shelter. Huda Ali says there are no tarps to protect them from the rain, nor mosquito nets. Sudan's rainy season, combined with the poor living conditions and inadequate sanitation, is also driving the spread of cholera. Some 52 people have died from the disease, according to one Sudanese advocacy group that operates across Darfur. Médecins Sans Frontières says it has treated 2,500 cholera cases since mid-June. Hunger is also a problem, with many people living in camps such as Zamzam, where monitors say famine has already taken hold. Locals say the RSF has blocked food supplies and that aid convoys trying to reach Al Fasher have been attacked. The RSF did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Residents say many have resorted to eating hay or ambas, a type of animal feed made out of peanut shells. But one advocacy group said even the ambas was running out.
Well, that was the Reuters news agency's latest report on the situation in Sudan. I've still got the ambassador, the Sudanese ambassador to the UK with me. Ambassador, thanks for staying around. We've got really a little bit of time just to answer this question. That report raised the question of whether or not the Sudanese government would be able to take back that final part of the country, or whether or not there would be partition. What's your view of that?
I don't think there's going to be any partitioning of Sudan. The Sudanese people, as I said earlier, are firmly united. The Darfurian, who know very well who are the Janjaweed and what kind of future will is waiting them if the RSF had to control Darfur. And so we now not only the Sudanese armed forces, but even what we call the armed struggle movement, who have been in the past fought against the government, now they are united with the Sudanese armed forces against the RSF, the Janjaweed, because they the very people who know for first hand what kind of atrocities they will committing. They are committing genocide, they are committing ethnic cleansing, mass rape, all this kind of very heinous atrocities. The government and the Sudanese armed forces and what we call the joint forces are capable of retaking all part of the country of Darfur that now under RSF. But the international community should support the Sudanese national army, Sudan government, the same way as it did when the ISIS or controlled part of the territories of Syria or Iraq. We are facing a terrorist group, and instead we need that the sponsor of this group to be called out and to put that a real pressure put on them to stop fueling that war and stop providing this terrorist group with weapons, with mercenaries. And then it is very easy that I can assure you that within a few weeks the war will be over. Okay. And all these areas will be retaken by the Sudanese armed forces.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for, but my thanks there to the Sudanese ambassador to the UK for joining us, and of course to you for watching. Do tune in for future episodes of Analysis, but for today, that's all we have. Good evening.